All right, y'all. So today is going to be an honest review of AfroTech. I wanted to talk about my experience. Now, just to qualify myself, I'm not just talking about AfroTech and I've never been. I've gone to AfroTech 2 years in a row. I went in 2022 and 2023. I work in cybersecurity currently, so I'm in the tech field. I've been to AfroTech twice. So if you've never been to AfroTech, what AfroTech is it's a multi-day conference where you have people of color involved in the tech space talking about what they do. So you could be talking about cutting edge technology, talking about AI, blockchain, bunch of different stuff, like all of this sort of trending topics in tech that you hear about on a regular basis are talked about at AfroTech. There's a lot of different workshops. I wouldn't even really call them workshops, a lot of talks. All right, so it's a lot of talks, it's a lot of networking. There's a lot of big companies that come to AfroTech. We're talking Google's, we're talking Microsoft's, we're talking Bank of America. A lot of bigger companies throughout the space come there to recruit as well and look for talent, PwC. So it's really an opportunity, number one, to hear about what's going on in the technology world. Number two, it's a great opportunity to see other people of color that are making great strides in technology and really, changing the game, so to speak. And then number three, the third aspect of AfroTech is really just the social aspect. It's networking, a lot of networking events, a lot of social events, things like that. So if you're going down there and you really want to get an idea of what it's going to be those three things. It's going to be, the talks, it's going to be the social events, and then obviously it's going to be that, that expo floor where you're going to have a lot of those bigger Fortune 500 companies recruiting, and even smaller startups sometimes too will come to AfroTech to recruit. And it's an opportunity for you to get to know what they do. And if you're looking for a job, it is a great opportunity to network with recruiters, learn a little bit more about the companies that are out there, and obviously, secure a job if that's what you're looking to do. One thing I do want to address though is, when I came back from AfroTech this year, I saw a lot of people post about how they felt like AfroTech was really just a huge party. That's all it was. Like, it was just a social event and that's it. And this is one thing I want to talk about. I do think that AfroTech is very heavy on the social events, right? It's a very trendy conference. It's very it's marketed towards a lot of people who are maybe influencers and things like that, right? Because it has that vibe to it. But I will caveat that with saying, I think AfroTech is one of those conferences that it's going to be what you make it. You have to have an intention when you come down to AfroTech. Some people might just be coming for the vibes and for the social aspect, and they just want to kind of chill and network and hang out and go to, parties. And then other people want to actually go down there and secure a job. They want to learn more about technology. They want to do, different things. They want to be a little bit more serious and learn a little bit more from a technical perspective that they can bring back to their company or bring back to their college or whatever the case is. And then you're going to have like another pool of people that want to do a little bit of both. Maybe they want to do a little bit of the social and they want to do a little bit of the more technical talks and things of that sort, right? So I think before you go down to AfroTech, you really have to ask yourself, like, why am I here? Like, what am I looking to do? Are you looking to just go down there and chill? Or are you looking to get a job? Are you looking to level up your career? Because I think that's really going to dictate how you spend your time. I do think that the conference itself can be structured differently, and I will get into that, towards the later half of the video, where I'll talk about some of the improvements that I think, the AfroTech organizers can make. But number one thing I'd say is, before you go, have an intention. If you're going to get a job, have your resume ready, have your LinkedIn up to date. Kind of try to get an idea, if you can too. Sometimes if you go on like the AfroTech website, sometimes they'll have a lot of different sessions listed far in advance, so they'll put this out maybe 2 months, 3 months before the actual conference. They'll put out the whole schedule. They'll put out who's going to speak, signing up for the speeches or the speakers that you want to see, the workshops that you want to be a part of ahead of time. So by the time you get down there, you can hit everything that you want to hit, and you're getting the most value that you can possibly get out of the conference, right? Because if you don't do that, it's very easy to miss things. It's very easy to not see the people you want to see. It's very easy to miss the companies that are there, all these different things, right? So one thing that I did before I went down with a group of coworkers. So what we did is we put together an Excel spreadsheet of all the workshops that we wanted to attend, and we thought would be, beneficial for our particular company, things that we could bring back to our company that were going to be, beneficial for them to use, or things that we can learn. So we made sure that we kind of parsed all that out ahead of time, and that really allowed us to, number one, not only divide and conquer, but number two, it allowed us to make sure that we hit the things that we wanted to hit, right? Now, second thing I will say is Expo floor. All right, so Expo floor is where all the companies are going to be. So if you're looking for a job, if you want a job, if you want to leave AfroTech and say, I'm employed, I got the bag, then you need to be on the Expo floor. So like I said, come in with your resume up to date, come in with your LinkedIn up to date. And I found that on the Expo floor, a lot of recruiters are looking at LinkedIn's. So they are, you know how you can just scan your little like LinkedIn QR code. You give them your LinkedIn QR code, you find them, they find you, you add them. One thing you can do that's really helpful and that I like to do is if you speak to somebody and, maybe you had a really good conversation, things like that, it's very easy to forget people, especially given the fact that these recruiters are probably meeting 500 to 1,000 people a day, where they're just kind of going back and forth. Maybe I'm exaggerating, maybe not 500 to 1,000, but they're meeting a lot of people every single day. And it can be hard to remember every single conversation that they have. So when other people are just adding them on LinkedIn, one thing that might be really helpful is that you actually go in and send them a message and say, hey, it was really great talking to you. I love talking to you about whatever you guys talked about. AI. I love talking to you about your journey into tech, going to this college, whatever you kind of connected on. Send them something so that they, number one, remember who you are. And number two, you remember who they are, right? You're probably going to be adding a lot of people throughout the conference, and if you're looking for a job, the more connections you have, the better. And number two, just kind of following up on that connection right away is a great way to show initiative, and it's a great way to kind of make yourself stand out from everybody else. And I know we live in a digital age now. Paper resumes are kind of like outdated, so to speak, but I don't think it hurts to. I think that's another way you could probably differentiate yourself. I don't think a lot of people are giving out paper resumes anymore. So if you add them on LinkedIn, but then you also have your little paper resume in your backpack and you're like, hey, here's my resume, here's what I do, blah, blah, blah. You might be the only person for the whole day or one of like 10 people who hands them like an actual physical resume, to have kind of on file. So that might also be a way to differentiate yourself. So I would say if you're looking for a job, stick to the Expo floor as much as you can. Like, I'm not saying don't go to workshops. Definitely go to workshops and talks as well. I think you will get a lot of value from the speakers. But at the same time, if your main focus and you were just there to network and find employment, the Expo floor is going to be your best friend. And be very strategic. Don't necessarily try to talk to every single company. There's certain companies that maybe you don't know anything about and you want to know a little bit more about. Go ahead and talk to them. And there's going to be other companies where you kind of already know, like, I don't really want to work here. Don't waste your time. Like, don't go over and talk to Microsoft if you kind of already know you're like, I don't really see myself working at a company like that. Nothing bad about Microsoft. I'm just using, an example, but spend your time on the places that you are really interested in. And there's going to be a lot of companies there that you've never heard of before, right? So then also, when you kind of hit the key companies that you really want to be a part of or could see yourself working at, go out and check out the other companies that you don't know a little bit, or that you want to know a little bit more about. Understand what they do, understand where maybe you fit, understand where your skill set fits. And then last but not least, I think regardless of whether or not you're there for the vibes or you're there to find employment or you're there as a part of just, personal development, one thing that's really, really cool that happened, and this was in 2022 for me, getting invited to private events. All right. So sometimes when you talk to certain recruiters or you talk to certain companies on the Expo floor or maybe outside of the Expo floor too, maybe after a speech, if they like you or if, there's some sort of connection there, they may invite you to a private event, somewhere throughout the city. So for the past 2 years, the conference was in Austin, Texas. So there was a lot of just different private events going on throughout the city, and there's a lot of other public, AfroTech events going on. So I got invited to a private Apple event. It was really, really cool. Conversation started with one of my coworkers. He made a connection. I do graphic design in my spare time. There was like a UI UX designer, a graphic designer for Apple. He was there and he thought it was really cool. He's like, hey, I think you guys should come over to this private event that we're hosting tonight. And the UI UX designer from Apple, he actually had known my coworker already. They had, a connection from way back. So small world. Long story short, we went to the private event. It was really nice. It was a really great opportunity to kind of network in a smaller setting. It was like this hi-fi. It was called Dante's Hi-Fi Studio, I believe, in Austin. So you could check it out. It was hosted there. Really cool. They had like little finger foods and stuff like that. talked a little bit about music. It wasn't necessarily based around tech, but there was a bunch of Apple people there. You can kind of talk to them, understand what their career path was, understand what they currently do for Apple. And it was awesome, right? And even though I wasn't necessarily there looking for employment, right? I'm already employed. I was sent to AfroTech by my employer. It was an opportunity to just kind of see a different world, see a different company, hear stories from, a company that's much different from the one I work for currently. And, it was just a very eye-opening experience. It was really cool. And you never know when you're going to have those little connections like that. So talk to people, don't be on your phone the whole time. Don't be like, oh, I can't, like, I don't want to talk. And I know it's hard. Like, I'm not somebody who's like a super talkative person, even though I make YouTube videos and stuff like that. Like, I'm pretty quiet, right? I'm not shy. I'm just quiet. So it can be hard and it can be draining, especially when you're an introvert like me, to talk to a bunch of people throughout the day. But when you're at a conference like this, I think talking to people is what you're there for, right? Making connections is what you're there for. And you never know where a connection is going to lead. You never know what private events you're going to get invited to. So make sure that you actually try to foster some connections with people. So one thing I do want to talk about to kind of close out the video is where I think the conference can improve, because I don't want to make it all sunshine and rainbows. I know AfroTech is a good conference. It's been building out over the years. I don't know how many years AfroTech has actually been a thing. I want to say maybe it's 5 years, maybe a little over that. Or maybe it's a little bit longer. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But one thing I will say is I would like to definitely see AfroTech focus more on technical ability and technical workshops, right? So one of the things that I mentioned about the conference is that it's very heavy on the networking, very heavy on social aspects, and very heavy on like the aesthetic of it, right? Like it looks cool. That's dope. And the expo floor, I think is very valuable with the companies, having the companies there and being able to talk to them. But outside of the expo floor, I would like to definitely see more technical workshops. And I know it's only like a 4-day conference. You can't, get a certification in 4 days. You can't necessarily like learn a completely new skill in 4 days. Like you can, but it's probably not super feasible. But even having companies like AWS come in, or having companies like Microsoft do actual like technical starter workshop, so to speak. Maybe it's like a certification track that you can go down, and they kind of give you a taste of what getting a certification would look like, or give you a taste of what using a certain type of technology would be like, or just very tangible technical skills that you can bring back to your company, or actually use, whether you're in college or using your current job or using your future job that you get after you get a job at AfroTech. Having a lot more of that would be amazing, because there wasn't really any of that at all, that at least I had seen or sort of experienced there. And that's something that I would find really valuable, and I think a lot of people would find very valuable. So maybe balancing out some of the social events with a little bit more of those technical events that you can actually, kind of come home with something tangible, right? And if there's maybe a cert, somehow you can get some sort of cert in 3 days or 4 days. That would be really cool too, right? And I'm not a huge cert guy. Like, I'm not over here just saying just make the whole conference based on getting technical certs, because I think technical certs have their place. They're cool, but it's not everything. But something where you can kind of build a skill, or kind of go to some skill workshops where you can, dive a little bit deeper, technically speaking, would be huge, because I don't think that was really an aspect of the conference this year, and I would love to see that in the future. And then number 2, also having some learning vouchers potentially combined with the ticket price. So the tickets are pretty expensive, especially if you go as like a corporate, not a corporate sponsor, but like you buy a corporate ticket if you're sent by your company. Like, these tickets are pretty expensive, right? So I think to kind of make up for the value of the ticket, aside from what you're getting just on the expo floor, and aside from what you're getting as far as the speakers go, offering some sort of vouchers, maybe to like Coursera, different websites where you can, maybe get some sort of technical tools, technical software, learning labs, all that stuff, right? Some sort of voucher where you can kind of recoup some of that ticket cost. I think that would be really nice. And I'm not saying it has to be anything crazy, but even if it's like you get 1 month free subscription to Coursera, or you get a 1 month free subscription to some other learning platform where you can, build your skills. I think that would be something that would be appreciated by a lot of people. And these are just obviously, asks from my perspective. I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen, but it would be nice, to kind of see a little bit more value come out of that total ticket price. And I understand that the conference is a lot to put together, and the booking and the conference location, all that takes a lot of money. So I understand, ticket prices will be a little inflated. But I do think there's some potential there to squeeze a little bit more value out of the tickets for the ticket price. So to close out the video, that's kind of my rundown of AfroTech. I do think it's a good conference. I do like the concept of AfroTech. I do think it's going to be heavily what you make it and what your intention is. I do think the conference is structured where the social aspect is a very large part of the conference. But you do also have that aspect of it that is focused on career and is focused on actually having, conversations with industry leaders. And, I think who you meet down there is really going to determine what your experience is like. And, I really do hope that the conference continues to grow in the future. And I do hope that they take a lot of the feedback that people have given, especially this year, where they want to see a little bit more of that technical aspect, emphasized. Is a huge thing. And also just seeing a little bit more value from a ticket price perspective. I think that would be, something that's greatly appreciated. So that's my synopsis. If I had to give AfroTech an actual score out of 10 for a conference, I would give it a 7 out of 10. That's pretty good. I think 7 out of 10 is good, but room for improvement. But 7 out of 10 is decent. Super huge thanks to anyone who was responsible for putting together AfroTech last year or this year. Like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed my experience, and I've had some great experiences and conversations with just the people that I met down there, and also with the coworkers that I went down there with as well. You learn a lot about people when you're outside of the work setting. You're able to have more candid conversations about your experiences as a person of color, and also seeing other people that are people of color in the industry doing great things is very inspiring. And I think that is one of the intangible sort of gifts that you get from attending a conference like this, right? So yeah, I will end the video right there. If you guys have been to AfroTech, or if you've been to AfroTech recently, or went to AfroTech this year, or want to go to AfroTech in the future, leave a comment down below. Let me know why you want to go to AfroTech. If you've already been to AfroTech, let me know what your experience was like going to AfroTech. What do you think the conference can improve? Do you already think it's great? Well, what is your experience? Let me know, and I will catch you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. As always, it's me, your boy Chris. Catch you later. That was the most awkward outro. I might cut that out. I don't know. I wonder if I can use AI to make that look better. I'm just kidding. Bye, guys.